Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. We begin this gathering by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe people, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Acknowledging this reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous people. So I welcome you all here in this room and who are viewing on YouTube. This hearing, the committee adjustment for St. Catharines, everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. There are two major types of applications to this committee. One is the application for consent and severance, where we cut up property or consider it. Two are applications for minor variance to municipal zoning bylaw requirements. Evidence may be given under oath if deemed necessary. Please address all of your comments questions through the chair, me, this evening. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the applicant and or any other person who appeared before the committee or filed a written request to receive a notice of decision. Pursuant to More Homes Built Faster Act and in the matter of consent applications, the applicant, the minister, or a specified person or public body that has an interest in the matter has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of the consent to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the mailing of the decision. Minor variance decisions may also be appealed. However, they must be made within 20 days of the making of the decision. So that would be this evening. And the cost of, of an appeal is $400. Are there any amendments or additions to the agenda?
There are a few adjustments to the agenda this evening. There has been an addition to the deferral request for 1537, 1583 Fifth Avenue Louth. There has been the addition and the removal of the deferral for requests for 329, 331 Pelham Road. It's back in the docket. The removal of the request for a minor change of conditions for 378 Niagara Street.
Thank you so much. May we have a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you, Tom. May we have a motion to adopt the minutes of the last meeting? Thank you, Jamal. Does any member of this panel have a conflict of interest in any of the applications being considered at this hearing or the previous hearing if they were not in attendance? I do not. No. Okay, thank you. Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment?
There is a request for item number 5, 1537, 1583 Fifth Avenue Louth. The applicant has requested a 6-month deferral to further discuss policy conformance with the city and regional staff. And the agent, Ethan Lamont, is presently in the here.
Well, let's deal with this now then. Would the applicant or agent please come on down, have a seat over here. Did you want to identify who you are and what the general circumstances are around the request?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Ethan Lamont. I'm a planner with Upper Canada Consultants representing the owner of the subject lands. Just as outlined in the agenda, our intent is to bring this application back when we've had a chance to engage in further discussions with the city and region.
That should give just enough time for the person making the motion to figure out what month is 6 months from now. Anybody wish to make a motion? Jamal?
So for consent application B13-24SC, I move that this application be deferred up to 6 months which that would hit February of 2025.
All those in favor of the motion for the 6-month deferral? Great. We'll see you in 6 months. Your deferral's been approved.
So the next is a request for confirmation of correction to minor variance decisions for 378 Niagara Street for A3123 and A10223. The agent Lou Biaggi is presently here. Should you have any questions, I submitted the comments to the committee. On September 13th, 2023, the Committee of Adjustment approved minor variances for applications A3123, save and accept variance number 3 and amend variance number 4 to 4 meters, and 10223, save and accept variances 3 and 4. On May 7th, 2024, the agent identified that the notice of decision of approvals for variance number 4 for A31 and A10223 were flipped. The motion included the amended approval for variance number 4 to 4 meters to A3123 notice of decision. However, as it was relating to the exterior side yard setback, amended number 4 to 4 meters should apply to A10223, the notice of decision. The excerpt of the minutes were included. The committee is now requested to confirm the correction of the approved minor variances in number 4. If you have any questions, I could answer any of them.
Is there anything the applicant or agent wishes to add? Only for clarification. Don't make it any muddier than it already is.
Not really. Elaine explained it well, that the 2 side yards were flipped, and we just wanted to reinstate them at the previous meeting.
Any questions, clarification required from members of the committee? So at this point, with that clarity understood, sure. Tom, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I move that we confirm a correction to the decisions for minor variances A3123 and A10223 as per the attached memo provided by the Secretary Treasurer.
Lovely. All those in favor of the motion to approve the correction? Great, thank you. It's been corrected.
Next, we have a request for a minor change of conditions for 412 Niagara Street. Staff requests a minor change of conditions to remove condition number 8 of conditionally approved consent application B2723 SC heard during the November 8th, 2023 hearing, which reads that the owner obtain a building permit to construct a semi-detached dwelling with accessory dwelling unit to complete all inspections to the satisfaction of the chief building official. Staff requests that this minor change of conditions, as the condition is unable to be fulfilled prior to the severance being completed. This condition was included in error and was meant to be a comment provided to the owner.
In other words, the building permit and all that, and the regular process will happen anyway, but it's not tied to consent. Great. Are we asking the applicant to come forward? Let's get that light on, kill that battery. Anything you wish to add to what we already know? Well, thanks for taking the walk down here. Just sit tight while we talk about you in front of you. Any questions, clarifications, comments regarding this request? If not, then someone please put a motion forward. Kerry?
I move that we remove condition number 8 from application B2723SC.
It really is that short, isn't it? All those in favor of that? Oh, I'm
You also
sorry.
just identify that it's a minor in nature.
Oh. Really? Because we believe it is minor in nature? That's it?
Well, I think the whole,
That's a,
yeah, yeah, what he said. Thank you. Thank you. You're yeah, Kerry. We voted, right? Everyone, so to vote against. See, everyone, again, everyone. Now we can move on to our regular agenda items, starting with 1 St. Paul Street. And so would the applicant and/or agent please join us down here? So this is a little unusual for us and interesting. So would the applicant and/or agent please state your name and anything you wish to add to this hearing?
Good afternoon. My name is Gerard Grand, and I represent 1 St. Paul and own it.
Having read the staff's report and the recommendations, is there any clarification you require, or anything you wish to add or comment on with respect to the number of conditions, or is it all
I think
good?
it's all good and it's well summarized.
Nice, thank you. On behalf of staff, thank you. Any questions or comments from the members of the committee? Anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to this application for 1 St. Paul Street? Tower severing from the commercial bit? Nope, great. With that, is there someone prepared? Tom, thank you.
Sure. Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that consent applications B4423 SC and B624 SC and variance application A13823 as presented in the notice of hearing be approved subject to the conditions outlined in the technical report, as the consents are desirable and compatible with the surrounding area, have no adverse impacts on the surrounding properties, have regard for section 5124 of the Planning Act, conform with the policies of the city's official plan and zoning bylaw, maintain the intent and purpose of the provincial policy statement, and do not conflict with any applicable provincial plans. And the variance is minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and is in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor? Thank you. To the applicant, your application has been approved unanimously. Thank you. 329 and 331 Pelham Road. Come on down here. Minor variance application for proposed 8-unit townhouse private road development. There are 4 minor variances being requested. Anything, having read the staff report, is there anything you wish to add or any clarification require?
No, we're obviously in agreement with the staff recommendation, and I have prepared a presentation anticipating that there have been some public comments, and there are some speakers from the public likely tonight. So if I can, I'm not sure how much time you're going to afford for the presentation. I'll try to be as brief as possible.
If you're going to hit all the points that you feel the
Yep.
people following might want to know about, and if Rosa has the presentation, which she does.
So if we can just go up to the first slide, please, Rose. Thank you very much. Just for context, 329, 331 Pelham Road is north of Rotary Park, just north of Power Glen and southwest of Louth, just for some city context. Moving to the next slide. So in terms of the surrounding land uses, across the street is a institutional use, Brockview Bible Church, as well as a 12-unit townhouse development, vacant land condominium that is roughly 10 years old. This is a predominantly single-attached dwelling neighborhood. The applicant who is here tonight, or the owner, my apologies, the owner who is here tonight, also owns 15 Elk Street, which extends, there's the cul-de-sac in this location here, and his property extends all the way down to 12 Mile Creek. So just in terms of the context, we're not introducing a housing form that is not already existing within the area. Next slide, please. And just a Google Earth, just for some visual context, you can see the church across the street, the 12-unit townhouse development, and the subject property roughly here. This is obviously not accurate given the bird's eye view of Google Earth, but and then extending down along Pelham Road, single detached dwellings, as well as on Elk Street as well. Next slide, please. In terms of the site, from Pelham Road, the two existing single detached dwellings, they're obviously, they're proposed to be demolished and redeveloped with 8 townhouse units. The interior view of 329 Pelham, which is this building here, this is the interior view here. It's generally flat and grassed. 331 Pelham, there is a vinyl shed in the rear yard that will need to be replaced. There is a existing fence along the southern property line that is proposed to be demolished and replaced with a 1.8 meter wooden privacy fence. So there's going to be some new fencing along the perimeter of the proposed development. There are no physical constraints to development or hazard lands as well. And any existing trees and shrubs that will be removed on the property will be replaced in accordance with a fairly robust landscape plan that we've already prepared and will obviously be approved under the draft plan of condominium process. Next slide, please. As for the proposed development itself, we've gone through a year-long process, a fairly comprehensive process involving numerous revisions to the site plan. And this is the ideal site plan that we have developed in recognition of many factors. And one of the guiding principles behind the development of this plan was to maximize the separation and privacy from adjacent dwellings, and minimize impacts on neighbors. And then in areas where this was not possible, to provide some enhanced landscaping. Now, one of the key revisions that has unfolded over the last week, since we received some regional comments on, there are 3 mature bur oak trees along Pelham Road. Our original site plan that was proposed had our driveway in this location, roughly here. It would have necessitated the removal of two of those mature oak trees. Within the last few days, we have revised that driveway or entrance location, shifting it south, retaining the 2 oak trees there and removing 1 here. Now, in terms of the location of this entrance, it is a driving factor behind this development. One of the comments we received from the region, and we investigated it very early on, was to locate it such that it didn't remove any boulevard trees at all. So we did look at a location along the southern property line here. When we looked at that, we realized that the impact would be greater on the neighborhood than the current location. In this particular instance, we have just 1 single detached dwelling property, and in this particular instance, we have 3 and almost 4. So there's a very unique lot configuration that exists surrounding this parcel. Normally, you'd only have 2 or 3 properties abutting it. In this instance, we have 5. So, so in terms of the development itself, it will be serviced by a private road with a turnaround here for garbage collection and emergency vehicles. There are 3 building blocks. Block 1 has 3 townhouse units, Block 2 has 3, and then there is a semi-detached dwelling with 2 units at the rear of the site. There will be 1.5 to 2-car driveways and garages. There is no visitor parking proposed. Therefore, that will reduce the amount of traffic entering this site as well. go on to say that no traffic study was required as part of this development process. Next slide, please. So this is the previous plan that was submitted. So just I didn't have time to revise my presentation thoroughly before today. So just take that into account that the new driveway will be in this, but it has no impact on the nature and scope of the variances we're requesting tonight. As you can see from this diagram, we have the first variance refers to the front yard. In terms of the setback to the dwelling, we're proposing a reduction from 6 meters to 3 meters. The second variance is the interior side yard. The end wall, we're proposing a variance of 5 meters to 3 meters. And the third variance is a rear yard variance, 7.5 meters to 5.6 meters. And lastly, we're requesting a reduction from 3 meters to 2 meters for the landscape buffer strip. Generally speaking, why do we need the variances? We have a lot of pinch points along this property, and we have a unusual lot configuration. The angle of Pelham Road is one of the driving factors, as well as the angle here along the rear yard. And obviously, St. Catharines is fairly well known for its deep lots and its generally shallow frontages. But all in all, we've prepared this with the objective that the reductions are minor in nature and will have the least impact on surrounding uses. Next slide, please. Just quickly, the staff's report goes over this, but just want to reiterate that the proposed housing types are permitted uses. As far as the density, we are at the very low end of what the official plan permits, and we are, which is 20 to 32 units per hectare. 8 units provides us with 20.5 units per hectare. So we're not looking for a huge density in this case. Pelham Road is a regional arterial. It's part of the Niagara Bicycle Network, and there is a transit stop not too far northwest, 500 meters. Next slide, please. Similarly, in terms of the zoning, it's R1. There's an institutional use across the street. In the rear, we have the G1 lands, zoned conservation/natural area. We were not required to do a natural heritage study. No buffers required. We're not impeding on any G1 zoned lands in this instance. Again, private road developments are permitted within the R1 zone, which includes townhouses and semi-detached dwellings. The minimum density for a private road development in the R1 zone is 20 units per hectare, and again, we're at 20.5. In terms of the specifics, next slide, please. This is a blow-up of variance 1. In this case, the only really affected party would be the region itself, Pelham Road. So this, my opinion, does not result in any adverse impacts on neighbors. It's a very attractive building facade, highly articulated. Our objective was to improve the relationship with the street while still allowing adequate room in the front yard for landscaping and an internal sidewalk connection to the public sidewalk. One of the initial comments we got in our from our pre-con meeting from Urban Design was to, well, it's verbatim right there, plan should be redesigned to, so some of the units face Pelham Road to improve the streetscape, create an attractive facade along Pelham, and eliminate the sidewall. We had initially proposed sort of a standard, typical end wall along the frontage here. We're now providing some variation, and there's actually a covered porch with an upper floor terrace. Next slide, please. Variance 2 has to do with the interior side yard in the rear of the property. I was actually, this is the area where we're proposing some enhanced landscaping along with a new 1.8 meter wooden privacy fence. I actually managed to just Google what a sweet gum tree hedge would look like, and we are proposing 5 at the moment along this, within this interface. This provides an example of what can be accomplished within, you know, even a parking lot with reduced width. So it looks to me like the height will potentially grow to 60 meters with an 8-foot spread, but I'm not sure how tall they will ultimately grow. Down here, I've provided some context in terms of the separation between the existing residential dwelling at 337 Pelham and where this interface would exist, and it's roughly 30 meters or 100 feet. Therefore, the reduction from 5 to 3 should not be noticeable as it affects the adjacent property. Next slide, please. This is variance 3, the rear yard. I've highlighted it's merely a sliver of unit 8 that requires this, that encroaches within this 7.5 meter rear yard. So this is where I was talking earlier about sort of the pinch points that exist. So in this instance, the impacted party is the owner himself, who owns the property in behind the rear yard here. So again, no natural heritage study was required, and NPCA confirmed that they have no objections or concerns. Next slide, please. This is where we propose a reduction from 3 to 2 meters along this interface between the private road and the one single detached dwelling property to the north. This is the existing situation. There is no fence. There are a few coniferous trees in this location here. There's only I believe about 5 feet between the existing dwelling at 327 and the existing dwelling at 329. This dwelling is proposed to be demolished. Therefore, there will be no new dwelling in that location. There will be a road instead. And then we are proposing 80 white cedars and 3 honey locusts along the mutual property line. Like I said, there will actually be an increased separation between the existing dwelling and the new units. So we feel this, it won't be noticeable, the reduction from 3 to 2 meters. Next slide, please. This is just reviewing some of the comments from agencies in the public. Niagara Region Transportation, which we resolved today that they were amenable to allowing us to remove one boulevard tree, and we have revised the site plan in response to that. St. Catharines Forestry had a similar, just echoing their comments, regional comments. Traffic, no objections or concerns. CRCS made some following comments here regarding the variances, just the wooden privacy fence, and then they wanted for variance 4, which was the landscape buffer, the planting of deciduous and coniferous trees to be approved. We have proposed that, and obviously that will be confirmed as we move through the draft plan of condominium process if we're successful here today. I did not get an opportunity to add the public comments that were received today, but I did provide the sort of a summary of the comments from Rob and Cindy Agnew, nearby residents. I'm not entirely certain which property they own, but just in terms of some of those comments: sewer systems, flooding concerns, wildlife, possible tax increase, increased traffic noise, less privacy, fewer trees. Just my comments. The development is permitted by the OP and the zoning. There will be a net gain of trees and vegetation with this redevelopment. No traffic study required. Pelham is a regional road, and its intent is to accommodate large volumes of traffic. And again, no natural heritage study was required as per a regional site visit last year. In terms of next steps, yeah, just for your benefit, if we're successful with our minor variance application, we would move to a draft plan of condominium application and process where we'll refine our plans accordingly. Sorry for the length of my presentation, but I just wanted to go over quite a bit.
This is your opportunity to make your case, and this is our opportunity, thank you, for the members of the Committee of Adjustment to ask any questions of the applicant or any clarification. Jamal?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to planning staff. I'm a little confused with since this is going to be in a draft plan of condominium, why is there no requirement for visitor parking?
Through the chair, the zoning bylaw does not require visitor parking, so they do meet their minimum required parking spaces per residential unit.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, I just I'm baffled with where the visitors are gonna park. Are they gonna park on the next road, or? I guess this goes to the
I suppose.
the applicant too, right?
I suppose,
to
no,
the-
well, hold on. Ultimately, it's the zoning bylaw that the individual who's proposing a develop looks at and says, okay, here are the minimums. How are we gonna achieve the minimums, typically? And in this case, the people that drafted the zoning bylaw determined that this property did not have a requirement. So in this case, the applicant's not going above and beyond the minimum requirement. So the practicality of where people are going to park at this point is just hypothetical, you know. So if that doesn't satisfy, and if the applicant has a response to that, then please.
The city will understand where we were coming. We proposed visitor parking with our initial plan, and we were pushed fairly hard to reduce and eliminate it. So, yeah, that's, you know, I think it's along the objectives of getting, you know, fewer cars on the road and getting more transit usage and alternative modes of transportation. I think that's where the city is going with in terms of going with a mandate on that. We did propose visitor parking, and we were beaten down.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
You can turn your mic off, please. Any other further questions from the committee?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, can you provide, we didn't receive any, I was kind of surprised to see that the conditions that CRSC wanted and the region's concerns were alleviated for the trees. Can you provide more background as to, with the moving of the driveway, what the region's thoughts are on allowing one boulevard tree to be removed?
Through the chair, those are the comments from the region. So the region is okay with it. We don't really have any further comment on that requirement, or that's not our tree, so.
Okay, just to confirm then, the conditions were not recommended in the technical report to be included in approval, but the applicant, you're volunteering to accept those conditions for CRSC's concerns with the fence and the two other variances?
We were already proposing the fence, and we're completely on board with CRCS's comments. I think they were more of a reminder, perhaps. We were already implementing what they were saying, and we need a landscape plan to be approved as part of the draft plan of condominium, and they'll ultimately review and approve that moving forward.
All right, thank you, Carrie.
Just to be clear, I'm looking at a couple of paragraphs similar to what Tom is talking about, where CRCS was basically quoted as saying we don't have any teeth to enforce what the region is suggesting. However, you are saying that you have addressed those. Number one, moving the driveway to the west, and also adding more landscaping and fencing. So you've covered that off. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I think they do have some teeth, because they will ultimately, they can impose various conditions on the draft plan of condominium that is approved, so hopefully. But like I said, we're already proposing that, and one of our guiding principles, as I said, was to reduce the impacts on neighbors to the best degree possible.
So through the chair to planning, there is a reference in here somewhere that because there is no site plan approval, it's not enforceable. And am I hearing that the draft plan of condo will be the device to make sure those regional concerns are taken care of?
Through the chair, it sounds like the draft plan of condo would be the place. There is no application for draft plan of condo at this time, and technically there's no requirement to have a plan of condominium if the owner chose to continue to operate the land as a rental. So we haven't been able to require anything at that stage either, because that stage is not a guaranteed stage. It sounds like it's the intent of the owner, but it's not something that's required, and since site plan approval is not required, that is why we can't add it to that specific process. And just to add to that, part of the reason those particular conditions related to the fence and the additional landscaping are considered not enforceable as a condition of these variances is because a condition of variances is tricky to enforce in general, and that if you were to make a setback to a building conditional on building, or conditional on planting additional landscaping, you'd have to have the landscaping in there before the building, which typically is not the order you would do things in, because then the landscaping would generally not survive. So it's simply a matter of, it's not really something you can actually tie to these particular variances. But going through a plan of condominium would give the city and the region the ability to have these requirements tied into a condominium agreement. And it is what the applicant is proposing in any case.
So in other words, the applicant got ahead of it, basically. Sorry, through you to planning.
Through the chair, they did do this in advance, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, members of the committee, for your questions and clarifications. Is there anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to this application? I felt like there was. Yes? So you will come on down and sit at... Doesn't matter. We want to put you on camera. Oh, I didn't put any makeup on. I can tell from here. So you just come through the gate and sit at the head of the horseshoe and engage the microphone. You stay right there. And
Red lights on?
You'll tell us who you are and where you live.
My name's Pat Pollock. I live at 322 Pelham Road. I live on the north side of Pelham, across from this gentleman's, what do you want to call it?
Development.
Construction, private road development.
Okay, so if you, this is your opportunity to share your comments as they relate specifically to the minor variances that are being requested.
As you probably well aware, that Pelham Road was reconstructed in 2006. They moved the center of the street towards the north side to accommodate the trees that this gentleman is going to cut down. They are over 200 years old. There's been a lot of studies by the college and the universities to keep them and how to, they did do some damage when they did reconstruct Pelham Road, and we did lose some of the branches, but since then they're come along healthy. Parking, there is no parking on Pelham Road. We have bike lanes. If you have, these units are probably going to be out of our range, so you're going to have 2 people working with 2 cars on each unit, right? So that's 16 cars. And how many people put a car in a garage these days?
We can't fit a car in a garage because it's full of junk.
That's right. So where are people going to park? Where's the traffic?
So the comment about parking is often presented when people who are comfortable in their neighborhood are confronted with a change such as this, and all of the things that one can assume about who might live here and how they choose to travel throughout the city. You can apply all kinds of scenarios. However, there is a governing bylaw, and in this case, and there's an opportunity for the city or the region to determine whether a traffic study needs to be required, so on. So within the report that we have and the discussion we just had about visitor parking and so on, that's been addressed in that they're meeting the minimum requirement of the zoning bylaw, and there's no law to tell them to provide any more parking, and the authorities having jurisdiction regarding traffic studies have reviewed the application without any concerns about Pelham Road. So even though you might be able to apply common sense to what's going to happen here, common sense and the law don't necessarily go hand in hand. And in this case, they're meeting the requirements, which is why there is no minor variance for parking. It's all related to the pinch points of the building. So you're welcome. Yes, you have shared your concern, but it doesn't relate to any of the 4 minor variances we're looking at this evening.
Okay, and he's also talked about conflicting with the neighbors on the south or west side of Pelham Road, the west side of his property. Why not build bungalows rather than 2 stories? Because the neighborhood is full of bungalows, not 2 stories. He's going to overlook 333, 335. Those homes are going to overlook his backyard and the houses until, they're going to put trees in, but it'll be 20 years before a tree matures.
So with respect to the advantages afforded to everybody living in an R1 zone, which is where we are, right?
Yeah.
Anybody who lives in a bungalow now has the opportunity to build to 11 meters to the roof line or wherever the height is. So even though 30, 40 years ago, everyone chose to build bungalows, it doesn't lock the neighborhood of the future, which is today, into that building type, which is could be a small footprint on a large piece of property. The zoning bylaw is trying to encourage intensification, not unlike this project is an example of. So while it might, again, go counter to what you've been accustomed to having lived in your neighborhood for a period of time, this is kind of the new direction that the zoning bylaw is opening up these opportunities for intensification. So yes, it would be jarring. It will be jarring as the first thing in. So you're not wrong about that either.
But if you were to look to the mirror of his property, which is 332, where they put in the condominiums about 10 years ago, you said, sir? There were all bungalows in there. And yes, at one time, we did fight the properties, but it was because we wanted some of the trees to be eliminated, and the city went in and numbered all the trees, and the developer was not allowed to cut one tree down. They had to work around the tree lines and the shrubs.
So, I mean, if you own a property and it has a tree on it, it's fully, right now, there is no zoning bylaw that an outside entity can come in and tell you what to do with your tree. So you have the luxury of pruning, removing, planting trees, because there is no zoning bylaw that restrictive within your property line. So the client of the agent here bought a piece of property, and they're choosing to do with their trees what they wish because there's no law telling them they can't. However, if you accept the fact that the net gain in actual individual trees, despite the fact it might be smaller, there is a net gain in the proposed development. And if we're all fortunate enough to be here 20 years from now, they might actually look like they do in that photo. But sure, they start off small, eventually they get big, but they don't start off big typically. So, so again, these are, and there is no. I guess the purpose of this meeting really is what in this case are the 4 things that this property does not comply with in the zoning bylaw, and nothing has to do with parking, and nothing has to do with trees. It all has to do with the position of the buildings and the width of that landscape buffer. So we're not looking at anything other than those 4 things.
My one concern is them becoming further closer to the street, because the visibility on Pelham Road, especially on the bends, and he's starting to be on the bend, is terrible. And Yes, you did put up 50 kilometers an hour, but that meant 50 miles an hour on Pelham Road. Now, the NRP come every other month, and they make a fortune.
I'm sure it's a cash cow for them.
That's right.
They haven't caught me, though. So you're talking about the front yard setback, where the building extends closer to Pelham Road by 3 meters or whatever it was.
Yeah,
It's not 6, it's 3. So in this case, the city would have reviewed a thing called the daylight triangle, no doubt. So because the driveway is quite far away from the building at that point and extends from it, part of the planning review would have been, okay, is there this clear spot unobstructed at ground level where people have visual access up and down Pelham Road? So there's a lot of, I mean, in the report, there are overall comments, but those comments are preceded by a review of all those things that you're talking about, including stormwater management and the capacity of the municipal septic system in this sewer system in the street, that sort of thing. So, you know, unless the report was, 10 times longer than it was, we don't see every little thing that they looked at, but it does go to all those departments, and they do render a concise summary of how they feel. So is there any other point you wish to make?
I think you've covered my thing. Just one more, I'm not allowed to speak about this, but the lady that's at 325 put her house up for sale. And immediately after, these gentlemen put up a sign saying there's a development going on. She now can't sell her house.
Or her property is going to be intensified in the same opportunity that this has happened. I mean, I understand. So unfortunately, it's not relevant to this application, but your point is made. Thank you. Is there anybody else in the gallery who wishes to speak to this application by contributing something in addition to what we've already discussed? Sit back there. You get to come all the way up here in this chair. So we want your name and address and turn on your microphone so we can all hear you, please.
Oh, there it is. Okay, got it.
So your name and address, please.
My name is Mary, and I'm speaking on behalf of my parents who reside at 335 Pelham. I'm actually curious about the trees after hearing this. Are the trees and the fence going to affect their property?
I can tell you.
The new trees that are going to be put up,
So
will they
you're actually speaking through me, not to anybody here, just to keep
okay.
decorum. The property line in the drawing that was up is highlighted in red. They can't build over their property line, but the fence will probably be on the property line. And there it is. So does red show up? Yep. So everything within that the red line is the property line. And a property owner cannot build or modify beyond their property line. So there will be no opportunity for anybody to intrude on your parents' property.
No, but what I'm asking is, like, the round circle there, does that happen to be the tree at the top of that diagram there?
That is a tree.
That is the tree that's in my parents' backyard.
Correct. The little X indicates the trunk, so yes, it probably is.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if those trees that you're proposing, are they going to be giving my parents complete privacy along the back of their property?
So in the same way that you identified that big tree as being one you're familiar with, the little trees on the below the property line on this client's property are the proposed new trees.
Which are?
The little green things.
So it is going to be along their entire backyard? Or is it going to be along the entire property?
Is there a red dot up there? So no, not along the entire property. Just its intent is to screen the new development from the existing dwelling. So where you see them is where they are, and where they are not would be sod.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, so it will, I guess, there, this is 335 here? Yeah. Okay.
And then, of course, the fence is a 1.8 meter tall fence. I'm 1.8 meters tall. Or maybe I was anyway. And it's a double, I think I saw somewhere it's a double board fence. So the intention is when your parents or whoever is standing on grade, you can't look over the fence. So the fence is a ground level impediment, and then the trees, when they grow to 60 feet tall, become, second floor window impediment. So the intent is you have ground level screening and higher screening with the vegetation.
So I thought maybe coming here today would actually make a difference in the development of this, but clearly it isn't.
Well, the only difference you can make is to comment on the 4 minor variances which are being asked for. Do you have any objection to minor variance number 2, where the proposed development is going to be closer to the property line than the existing zoning bylaw permits? They are here because it will be closer than the zoning bylaw permits, but they're hanging their hat on the fact that they have a double-sided board fence and some vegetation to mitigate the impacts of that, and they mentioned that they are at the rear of all these properties and not directly adjacent. So that would be a concern you could raise, that you do not like, you're not in support of the fact that the building is proposed to be the rear building, number 3, which is probably not adjacent to your parents' property, but that is what we're here to, so.
It will actually be directly in, like, facing their backyard.
Okay. So, if you're saying you would like to know more about what this means and you're objecting it, then we can have a conversation about the fact that the mitigation for this being closer to the property line is the board fence and the vegetation. And we can have the applicant respond to whether or not they're aware if there are any windows, or if there are many windows on that side of the building, were they purposely reduced on that side to provide, is there any elevations which would address that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we have prepared some elevations. We focused our elevations on the Block 1 because the city was interested in how this would look from, in terms of the frontage. We haven't developed comprehensive elevations for the balance of the lands, but certainly we would not be proposing many windows at all or any glazing along the end walls where that would overlook adjacent properties. Yeah,
Privacy goes both ways, right?
Correct.
So if you're in your bedroom with a window looking in your neighbor's backyard, everyone feels violated. Is that the answer?
That's a good synopsis.
So, sorry, you're saying, actually, I just found out about this morning, and so I haven't even thought that far ahead. So the windows you're saying are going to be glazed? They're going to?
No, glazing is a fancy term that people in the industry use to refer to a window.
Oh.
So, well, using this example, but this is not an example. This is an example of the front of the building facing the private drive. It looks like the front of many houses on Pelham, facing Pelham Road. As you can appreciate, the sides of the home you might live in perhaps might have many fewer windows than the front or the rear. And in this case, it would be this is a side. Unit number 3 is a side wall facing the property line, not a primary front or rear access, but presumably a bathroom window or 2 or some kind of private window will be on that wall.
Which would be directly in their back, facing their home.
Right. But there's no zoning bylaw preventing that. This is just, we're just looking, I just highlighted, I didn't mean to, I wanted to address the fact that you didn't, or focus you, that in this case, building number 3 is proposed to be 2 meters or so. I can't quickly find my item number 2, from 5 to 3. So it's going to be 2 meters closer to the property line than the zoning bylaw permits.
So I can object to that, and it'll count.
You can say you're not in support of it, and you can,
I am not
and we
in
can
support
provide
of it,
you, and we
yeah.
can collect the information that you need to let you know what that means, which is what I just tried to do. Anything else that you're concerned about?
No, I thought I would come up and read the email that I sent in, but I guess,
We-
should I read it?
We would have a copy of your
Yeah.
correspondence, so
Okay.
we've already read it.
Okay, good.
Okay?
All right, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you could turn off your mic, thanks. Anyone else wish to speak to this application? Hello, welcome. The process is to turn on your microphone. Yes, tell us your name and where you live.
My name's Cindy Agnew. I live at 325 Pelham Road.
And now we would please like to hear what you are concerned about.
Well, everybody's been through a lot of my concerns that I had written in, but I'm still concerned about the sewer systems. And are they going to be revised? Are we going to get flooded out again?
So, as mentioned, as part of the city's staff review and regional review so there's storm sewer and waste sewer. So stormwater management plan deals with rainwater that hits the ground and where it goes. In this case, this development would have to demonstrate at maybe this stage, building permit stage, that they're not shedding their surface water on adjacent properties. So that's the ponding that might happen. This development is not allowed to contribute to any ponding on anyone's property adjacent to them. They don't have to fix any existing property, issues, but they can't contribute with this development. With respect to brownwater sewage, that is in the street. Pelham that street has intensified a heck of an amount since I've been here from the last 22 years or so. So again, the correct city department would have reviewed what size and diameter of pipe is in the street and what the flow upstream and downstream is and what this is adding to it. And if not, they would make the developer provide a study to comment on that and prove that they're not impacting it negatively. So we have not seen the reports. As I mentioned earlier, we see the results, the comments, the summary that the staff present to us in this final report. We didn't see the calculations. I wouldn't know what they looked like anyway. So if the applicant has something to add.
Yeah, we have prepared a functional servicing report and submitted that to the city, and they undertake what's called an all pipes analysis. And that review confirmed that there is existing capacity in the system. We've also prepared a stormwater management plan and design drawings reflective of the site plan that is before the committee tonight. And we have ensured that post-development matches pre-development flows. So as the chair has indicated, we won't be contributing to any off-site flooding. And that's another measure that is reviewed within the draft plan of condominium process as well, is that we prepare plans that are reviewed by the city and approved. And if we don't get those approved, then we can't move forward to registration of the plan, so.
Yeah, because
So
going
the
from 2 homes to 8.
So the short answer is, there's a lot of the developer doesn't get it's not a free walk through City Hall and region to get this thing done. It takes years, painful years, to satisfy city staff that, because city staff doesn't want to deal 5 years from now after this development's done with the complaints every time it rains or someone flushes the toilet and things don't go the way they should. They want to make sure that that everyone in the community remains with the quality of life that they had, plus or minus, post-development that they have now. So that's the reason for this process.
Okay. And I have a question about the height. The homes along Elk, and, well, my home and our home and the homes along Elk, will they be overlooking into our yards?
So the.
Like, is that the way
these are-
they're facing?
These
or
are two-story homes with probably fake dormers, right? There's nothing behind those. So these are two-story, proposed two-story homes with windows on each floor, as this elevation picture proposes. So they're two-story homes. I think that, not to muddy the waters, but for this zone, there would be a building height limit that's probably 11 meters.
10 meters.
10 meters. So a typical, within 10 meters, you could probably get, if you had a flat roof building, 3 floors or something like that. But, and then in this case, where there's a sloped roof, the height of the roof is measured halfway up the slope. So, and just to reiterate, we're not here for, they're not breaking the rules on the height of the building, which is why it's not a minor variance. They meet the requirements.
Okay,
So yes, it will be two stories.
there'll be 2 stories. So they will be, are they facing Elk? Is that the way that's telling me they're going?
Site plan.
I don't mean Elk, I mean the fencing along.
So the site plan, those blue rectangles are the residence, the yellow ones are the garage. So there's windows facing on all directions, probably higher concentrations on the front and the rear and lower concentrations on the sides.
Okay,
One of our objectives was to locate the bulk of the building central to the property to maximize the distances between the residents or the neighbors along Pelham Road to the south, as well as 327 Pelham, which intervenes between the Elk Street cul-de-sac.
right.
Is there anything else you wish to add?
No, I think that's about it, other than all the wildlife will be gone, and we
Well,
won't have any of our animals anymore, and we'll just have this big
Every
awful
house,
thing.
100 years ago, whenever your house was built, wildlife was displaced, and but now we have the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, who has this lovely 12-mile creek wildlife corridor and protection. So yes, you're right. Everything displaces, but this is already a residence on this site, so
Yes.
it's just a little more intense. Actually, because it's more intense, there are more people living on less land, so it's actually a better situation than the situation that's there now, where there's 2 people or whatever for this whole site. Now there's going to be, many more. So this is a whole part of the idea of the intensification of development is to leave a lighter footprint on developable lands we have, and St. Catharines doesn't have any developable lands, which is why they're encouraging these kind of infill projects. It's not really a public service announcement, but that's what I tend to believe. Okay, thanks so much. If you could turn your microphone off, that'd be great. Anyone else wish to share their thoughts regarding this application? And in particular, the 4 minor variances that we're looking at? Okay, I think that is there somebody? Yeah. Okay, sorry. So as you're making your way, I'd just like to emphasize that, the topics we've already discussed, we have discussed, so it's not to revisit those will not be helpful. And ultimately, we are just talking about the 4 minor variances that the applicant is requesting. Your name and address, please.
My name is Ed Lamont. I live on 332 Pelham Road. I'm Unit 1. I'm looking right across to all the units there. Is there any possibility, or how many units you would get if they were single stories? How many square feet is per unit?
So through me.
Our
to the,
units.
So
Excuse me,
we answer your questions one at a time. Just trying to make sure everyone's friendly. So what's the square footage? Would you happen to know what the square footage is of a unit?
Yeah, our footprints are rather small, and when you remove the garage, they're approximately 800 square feet, which is why we're going for 2 stories. They're not, 800 square feet is not a very big unit, obviously, and that's one of the reasons that they are two-story.
That's including the second story.
Well, that would not be including the second story. So the footprint itself is roughly, would be roughly 800 square feet of living space on the ground floor. With the garage, that increases it above 1,000, but obviously, we don't live in our
You don't count
garages
the garage,
very
no.
often.
No, because our units, we have 12 units in our commune or in our circle. Each one is 1,449 square feet. And I just wonder how many units you would get into that property if they were single stories.
Well, I guess ultimately, they're choosing, I mean, they had an option to do whatever the zoning bylaw allowed, and in this case, I mean, I can't totally put words in their mouth, but I'm trying to go through me. They're providing garages, they have to provide roadways and garbage truck turnarounds and fire truck access and all those sorts of things. So once you start overlaying these minimum requirements for vehicular transportation, a driveway width and depth and so on, it starts to impact the footprint, which is what he's talking about, the ground, where the building touches the ground, and then a decision might be made, say, hey, in 800 square feet, we're not going to get enough living space, so these are going to turn into two-story units. To hypothetically ask the applicant, what if these were all one-story units? Well, right now, they'd be 800 square foot units with a giant garage attached to them. So then it gets into, well, then the garage has to disappear, the parking spot requirements, so it's a whole other development. This development is not, in the zoning bylaw, there is a lot coverage for the dwelling unit and a minimum lot coverage for landscaping and so on, and none of those the minimums have been impeded upon, which is why there's no minor variance for those. So it meets those sort of ratios.
It's just I'm very surprised that all of Pelham Road, they're all individual single homes. People work hard for a single property, and all of a sudden you get a castle of 8 units stuck between single homes. I think that's a bit of an eyesore.
And also it's diminishing the value.
It's what? So that's a fair comment, and you have gone on record as making that comment. Is there anything else you wish to add?
No, I think that's pretty well it. That covers it. Because I think a lot of our tenants in our compound got the same feeling.
Okay.
So because we are so united and we have our own private lives, but yet we have our living rooms towards the road, we have our porch there, and it's a beautiful sight to see those trees across the street, but if they're going to be gone, then we see a row of concrete houses, and I think that's an eyesore.
Well, like I said, in the 22 years I've lived here and bicycled down 12 Mile Creek where there was the old Power Glen area and nothing else, a lot has happened, and this is the 2024 kind of addition to that. So thank you for your comments. If you could turn off your microphone, please. We really should be moving along. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak this application? Oh, there you are. Come on down. Can't deny ya.
Hi, I'm Paul. I'm from Unit 4 of the same complex of the gentleman before me. My only question, comment is, they're building on Pelham Road, that's good by me. But what we're building doesn't fit on all 4 sides. There's a minor variance on all 4 sides. Is that a problem to the city of St. Catharines? Because it's kind of a problem to me.
So that's exactly on point. That's why we're here. And it's a problem for the developer in that when zoning bylaws, when we think of the earth, we like squares inside of squares inside of squares on rectangular streets. And then there's the practical realities of this site, which has angled property lines to Pelham Road, an angled property line at the rear, and we're putting square buildings on this parallelogram-ish building. So as the applicant has tried to demonstrate to us, those pinch points generally happen at those angled lines that we're seeing coming up against the rectangular buildings. And the very purpose of this committee is to say, we understand that there's not a cookie cutter situation out here that anybody can anticipate. So this unique situation is coming before us for our consideration to say, do we think, can they justify and do we agree that going from 6 meters to 3 meters is a minor variance? They've presented their argument for all of us to hear, and you're welcome to say, you've heard their
That's
justification.
really all I want to say is I don't think it fits. Like,
Okay.
They built it, or they've designed it, and it
Well, it
doesn't
doesn't
fit. It
fit.
doesn't fit on all four sides, so.
It does
I
not
mean,
fit.
If we're going to change it for, this gentleman, we're going to change it for everyone who tries to build it. We're going to go to 3, we're going to go to 2,
Well,
we're going to go to 1.
but that's
And
why
it's
we're
just-
here.
Yeah.
So ultimately,
that's-
we wouldn't have,
That's my point. That's all.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Did
Okay.
you want to?
No, she's my backup, that's all.
Okay, no,
Thank you.
no, we're done,
Okay.
we're done. So, thank you.
Okay.
Your comment is on point. So, is there anyone else wishes to speak to this application? Don't all speak at once. Sure, shout from over there, we'll listen. Okay, come back. I pointed that out to you, yes?
Yeah, which I kind of didn't follow along at the time. So I just want to go on record that.
Okay, thank you. I know no one else has anything to say, so we're going to move on. The applicant wish to respond to anything that they've heard. It's not required. You did as we went along. Is there anything you wish to say?
I just want to reiterate that, again, one of our guiding principles here was to ensure that we didn't have any variances along basically the entire extent of the southern boundary, save and except for right along here. And the reason we need this simply is because of our turnaround here. We do need, or in terms of meeting a desirable footprint, we do need that extra 2 meters. And again, my point being, there's 100 feet between this property line here and the existing dwelling. The addition of these trees, which will hover well above the roof line eventually, I think that it won't be noticeable moving from 5 to 3 meters in this instance.
Is it fair to highlight that your zoom in on Unit 8 and your drawing illustrates the necessary curb radius for truck turning, which is pushing that building toward the property line?
Right in here.
Well,
yeah, this is a...
Rosa, if you could just zoom back to the upper left-hand corner drawing. Or just, yeah, close. No, up, as in top of the page. Doesn't matter. I'm going clarification. Oh, no. Okay, just stop right there. We're good. We're good. Could the applicant please confirm, as I understand, that the required truck turnaround, fire truck, garbage truck, whatever, turnaround is a numerical requirement, that radius is pushing your 2.1 meters, whatever that says, is pushing that building. Is that what's pushing the building toward the property line?
Yeah, I mean, we were juggling back and forth with where we placed the Block 3. There is no encroachment or in terms of you're allowed to encroach within the front yard, front porches. So we felt this was the appropriate balance between the setback here and the setback to the template, to the hammerhead. And this does meet the minimum regional requirement in terms of the turning template.
My point in highlighting this is to try and illustrate to those people who are concerned about variance number 2, which I highlighted, that there is something pushing the building up close to it. So that's part of our consideration is we've provided the life safety access for a fire truck and ambulance. Does that, make the variance any more or less tolerable. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at. There's multiple things happening here, and in this case, it seems to be the roadway which is pushing it up. Thank you. Any questions, comments, clarifications required for the committee?
Yes. Recognizing that the parking issue is not an issue with respect to this meeting, I do have a question through you to the agent. I'm curious because there was a mention that you came in with visitor parking. I'm trying to wrap my mind around, and again, it's more of a curious question. You probably put visitor parking in there, recognizing that from a marketing standpoint, potential purchasers would be interested in seeing parking. You moved backwards on that to the point where what we're seeing right now has no visitor parking. I'm just wondering what the thought process would be in terms of accepting the pushback, because you have 8 units here that don't have any parking for the visitors. So that would impinge on your marketing ability, I would think, or your success. Perhaps you could comment on that.
Yeah, I think our desire would be to provide some visitor parking, recognizing that this is in a suburban location, and the nearest transit stop is roughly 500 meters to the northeast at Louth Street. However, I think just based on my experience from other developments, the city is pushing the development community fairly hard on minimizing parking, whether it be visitor and even for units themselves. So I guess my answer to that would be we do have, in half of the units have double car garages, which will allow, if you park in tandem, 2 in the garage and 2 in the driveway, you can accommodate up to 4. So had these been all single car garages, I think we would have pushed back harder on that. But given the fact that we are able to provide up to 4 on per unit in some situations, in others probably only 3, based on the fact that they're 1.5, sort of 1.5 car garages. Yeah, if somebody's throwing a large party or a gathering, yeah, that's a concern. But I think that would be a concern anyway, regardless of how much visitor parking we had. We initially provided or proposed our visitor parking in this area up here. We had roughly, I think, 4 or 5 visitor parking spaces in total within the development. But yeah, there obviously isn't a lot of excess space to do that.
So
from our, yeah.
So you eliminated the visitor parking and you replaced it with more green space? Is that what I'm hearing?
We did.
Yeah.
Yep, we did.
Any other questions? Turn your microphone off, please. Any other questions from the committee? Tom?
2 quick questions and then a comment. While you have the layout open, did I miss it, or was there no rear elevations of either of all 3 blocks?
They were just showing the elevations of the principal building closest to Pelham Road,
no rear
assuming that we can fill in the blanks, that the other ones look similar.
All right, no, I was just curious because those seem to be left out, and there's a lot of concerns with the height and the overlook, and the rear elevations are on 2 sides of the property, so I was just curious. And I'm not sure if I missed it as well. Are there basements in these proposed units?
Likely there will be finished basements, yes. We haven't done geotechnical testing yet, but we'll confirm that. We didn't want to go through that expense prior to approval first.
And then just a comment, I guess, through you, Mr. Chair. I came in here with the expectation, with the understanding that the region was against tree removal, and we've seen a different layout, and I appreciate what the agent has provided. But I'm a little bit concerned, without having the region here to speak to that, with their canopy goals and how that fits into their official plan, and what conversations were had allowing one 200-year-old mature boulevard tree to be removed.
We do not have the benefit of an arborist or the region's comments. I don't know if a 200-year-old tree has 10 years left in it or another 200 years left in it. We do know that they approved the removal of one with the redesign of the driveway to save two, I guess net. So, and then we know that there's going to be a landscape plan required, and as proposed here, so there's a net gain in canopy. But you're right. But we receive these reports regularly, and we make our decisions based on the information that we have. So, fair comment. At this point, though, I would like to invite one of our committee members to put a motion forward that we can vote with our understanding of this application and the 4 tests. Don't all, speak at one, volunteer at once. Jamal.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A34-24, as presented in notice of hearing, be approved, subject to the conditions outlined in the technical report, as the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping intent with general intent of the and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
So right now, we have a motion in support of staff's recommendation for approval of the 4 variances. Is there any committee-only discussion regarding this? And if not, I'll call a vote. All those in favor of the motion as it stands, show of hands. Those opposed? So three in favor, 1 opposed. So your application's been approved, although not unanimously. So for people observing, obviously, the 4 variances have been granted based on this site plan. So we're moving on to our next item, which is 670 Niagara Street. It's a minor variance application to facilitate the construction of an accessory building containing a detached garage and detached accessory dwelling unit. Why can't I find these stupid things? Okay, as the gallery clears, we are moving on to our 3rd application this evening. Only 3 so far. 670 Niagara Street. This is a minor variance application. I already mentioned that, didn't I? Anyway, minor variance application to facilitate the construction of accessory building containing a detached garage and detached accessory dwelling unit. And there is 3 variances requested, and we have staff report, which has a condition related to the variance 1 and recommends approval of variances 2 and 3. Would the applicant or agent like to state their name and address and add anything to the conversation?
Sure. Krista McNutt with Jordan Station Design Co. You need my address, Elaine? No? Good. Okay. Just wanted to say we've read and reviewed the staff report. I'm in favor of their recommendation. Just wanted to reiterate we're good with the condition on variance 1, and variances 2 and 3 are existing conditions, just kind of recognizing the existing irregular lot. I'd be happy to answer any questions of the committee or anyone in the public.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or clarifications required from any of the members of the committee? No? Great. Is there any, Carrie?
So we heard some comments from staff regarding the enforceability of conditions as they relate to minor variances. Through you to staff, if you could enunciate the difference, potential difference, in this case where there is a condition, I would be beholden to you.
Through the chair, in this case, the condition of the variance is that the building to which the variance applies be set back like beyond the minimum of the zoning bylaw requirement, directly related to the variance and to support keeping that the mitigation of that, mitigating the impact of that variance. It would be able to be applied at the building permit stage, because when the building permit is issued for that building, they would ensure that that setback is met. That would be the difference between this and something like putting in landscaping, which has to happen later.
Many thanks.
This is where we go to the gallery and say, is there anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to this application? No, because there's only 2 left and there's pairs of people there. I get it. Motion, please.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance A 4724, as presented in the notice of hearing, as presented in the technical report, be approved, complete with the condition 1 regarding the 7.5 meters setback from the east lot line, as the condition, minor variance is minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and is in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of that motion, show of hands. Okay. Your application's been approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks so much, and thanks to staff. I know this was kind of a difficult file.
Oh, you staff, you're so great. That proposes the construction of a garage addition to an existing attached garage, making a bigger garage. We have staff recommendation, a report from staff recommending approval. And I believe there were some, did we receive comments for this one? No. So would the applicant and/or agent like to state their name, address, and add anything to the conversation?
Good evening. My name is Bruce McChesney. I am one of the owners. My wife, who's in the building, is also here. I think it's pretty obvious. We have a one-car garage. We're both getting to an age where it's more and more difficult to shovel snow off the other car. So we want to expand it to buy another bay. Our house is one in a row of 14, all of which, other than ours, have 2-car garages in the same position that ours would be in. This house apparently was a model home, and when it was built, I suspect the builder changed his mind partway through the process, because he actually placed this house in the position it would be in if it had a 2-car garage. Now, we asked the architect, and I think he was quite successful in this. We asked him specifically design this addition so it looked like it is an addition. It looks like the house was built that way. And in fact, I think it was successful because the image of what it will look like is on the sign on our front lawn, and at least 3 neighbors stopped by to ask what exactly the change was. They couldn't tell from looking at it that it was a change. As you can see, I went up and down the street and spoke to a number of my neighbors to ask if anyone had any issues with it, and no one did. I just want to say the reports, this is not an area I'm familiar with at all, but the reports impressed me as being extremely thorough, and they seem to all suggest that this variance should be approved. And the language has been repeated several times tonight, so I won't repeat it. If anyone is interested, because I'm 76, I don't have much technological ability, but I can show you what
Did you just tape a bunch of pictures together to make a panorama?
I did.
It would be a shame not to see it.
Well, I hope you've got a big desk up there.
We would have the opportunity to visit your site anyhow and had an idea of the context, but this certainly reminds us, and we can turn it around and show everybody else what has been happened here. And you're welcome to take it over to that table and show them as well. It'll stretch from one committee member to another. So while you're showing off your creativity, is there any questions of the committee's members of the committee to the applicant? Okay, all right. Are there any questions from the committee members to the applicant, and are any clarifications required from planning staff?
I only have one suggestion through you to the applicant. I would use a broom to clean off your car, not a shovel.
Yeah.
I'll bear that in mind, thank you.
Okay, that's where we are with this application. Everyone seems to be understanding what's going on. Is there a motion? Oh, is there anybody? There could be. Is there anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to this application? We just have, there are groupies. Okay, pardon? Okay, okay. This is your opportunity to speak in favor or against, but you're fine, that's good. Thank you. Is there a motion, Tom?
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A4524 as presented in the notice of hearing be approved, as the variance is minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the land, use of the land, and is in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
All those in favor of the support of the application, show of hands. Your application's been approved unanimously. It will still snow. You will still have to, you'll never park those cars in there. You'll still be clearing them off, but you know, good luck with that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, member.
Well, this is the conclusion of our meeting. I'm supposed to say something like, is there any new business?
No.
There rarely is. Congratulations to our 2 committee members who will be taking the examinations. Good luck with that. The date of our next hearing is probably September 18th. And may we have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Thank you, Carrie. Or what? That's a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, there's a motion. I'll propose a motion.
All those in favor to adjourn? Great, we're done. Thank you. This meeting's
I
over.
also, if we could,
Watch your step, please.
if we could, in the future, if